Korab the Chaf Amid Beis. We said in the sugya of Avelus, we saw that if a husband's wife is in Avel, he can't force her to wear what? Cannot force her to wear makeup, and so she is Avel, and he is if we said if it's her parents, then he is a din of Avelus. I mean the Rabbanon, and that's where we're up to. We're up to 2 lines from the bottom, right? 3 lines from the bottom. Chaf Amid Aleph. Amema shachavlei barbarei. Amema. I said chaf Amid Beis. Chaf Amid Beis. Amema shachavlei barbarei. Amema lost his grandson, the son of his son, Kori lavei, and he ripped clothing when he heard about it. Asabrei, and then the son showed up, and Korabapei, he ripped in front of him. So he ripped once, and now he ripped in front of him. Itgar, and then he remembered the Meyushiv Kara that he had ripped when he was sitting. So Kam Kara Mu'omid, he went ahead and he ripped when he was standing. So he ripped in total 3 times. He ripped in total 3 times. Amalei Rav Ashila Mema Kriya Demome Minolon, that you ripped again the 3rd time because you had remembered that you hadn't ripped the first while you were sitting, Minolon, that you have to be standing. Ichsiv, it says Vayakam Yoav got up, Vayakam Eoiv, and Eoiv got up, Vayikra Esmilo, and he ripped his mill, he ripped his shirt. Says the Gemara, source from Eoiv. Eoiv, we know he lost his wife, he lost his everything, right? The only thing that he didn't lose was his life. Welcome back. Ella, may Chaf Aleph Amid Aleph. Ella me Ata. Elameata, v'amad, v'amar, lechafatzti lakachta. It says by the pasha of Yibum, by Chalitza. It says v'amad, and he will stand up. V'amar, she will stand up. V'amar, lechafatzti. He stands up and says lechafatzti lakachta. I don't want to take her. Hachanami, you're going to tell me that Chalitza has to be performed only while standing. V'hatanya, it's not true. Bein Yoshev, whether you're sitting, Bein Oimid, whether you're standing, Bein Moita, whether you're inclining, you could perform Chalitza. So you see the Lashon of Amida by Chalitza is Lav Dafka. So who adin, the Lashon of by Amida by Eoiv is Lav Dafka. Says Amalei. So Amema said to Rav Ashi said to Amema, Hasam like Siv, it doesn't say Viyamoid. It doesn't say Viyamoid Viyaimar, and he should stand up and he should say. Right? It just says v'omad. In other words, when it says v'omad v'omar, and it's not saying what he should do, it's a rendition of what occurred. V'omar, and if he happens to stand up, v'omar, he happens to say. If it would say v'ya'amoid, he should stand up, then you'd be right, and I would agree with you that it has to be amida. But since he said v'omad, it's just telling you mili da alma what happened. Mashen came by Eoy, but it says v'yokom, and he got up. It's telling you what you're supposed to do. So therefore, right now, our source for Amida of Kriya is what is Eoiv. How do you know Kriya is recited while you're standing? Shenemar vayokam Eoiv vayikra. Says the Gemara, how do you know that you have to stand up? How do you know we're on Chaf Aleph Amid Aleph? How do you know you have to stand up? Dilma Milsa Yisei Rasahu David. Maybe Eoiv was doing something extra. In other words, I'll show you that he did something extra. So just like that other thing was extraneous, so too the Amid is extraneous. The Eloi Teimahachi, it says by Eoiv, by Yigoiz Esroishoy, what did he do? He ripped his hair out. Fellas, we know you're not allowed to rip your hair out. The Korcha from base, you're not allowed to do it. So just like the act of Eoiv of ripping his hair out was not part of Avelus, maybe the Vayokam Vayamoid also was not part of the Avelus Vayokam and Vayikra. Hachanami. So therefore, the Gemara rejects that as the source for Kriya, because just as ripping your hair out is Lav Dafka, so therefore, whatever Eoiv performed is Lav Dafka. You don't have a raya. So Ella Lashon Charata, dead end, and now we need a new source for Amida done al Yedei Kriya done when Amida. Now, David had a son of Shalom who had a sister Tamar who had been an Anusa as it was by Amnon, and Avshalom, he killed Amnon. David gets a message that Avshalom killed all his children. And his reaction is the following. Vayokam HaMelech, the king stood up. Vayikres begodav, he stood up and he ripped his clothing. Now, when it says Vayokam, it means he was sitting. Then what did he do? He ripped. Why did he stand up? Because since he was going to rip, he couldn't do it while sitting. If he just wanted to go ahead and rip, why didn't he rip in a sitting position? Ella, you see the fact by Yocham that David, who had the fact that it says he arose, it means he had been sitting. So you have a raya that the act of kriya that David performed right afterwards must have been, that's the halacha. That's the source. Maybe David was doing something also that was extra. In other words, the same kasha we had by Eob, we'll have by David. Now, what is the other thing David did that was extra that you would say the kriya about standing is also extra? The Eloite Mahachi, it says Vayishkav Arza, and he sat on the ground, right? And now you're not supposed to sit on the ground. You're supposed to sit on the mita, Kfiyas Hamita. You're supposed to turn over the mita and sit on the mita. So Hachanami, so just like Vayishkav Arza was similar to Eob ripping his hair out, right, which is not part of Avelis. So to sitting on the ground is not part of Avelis. You have to sit on the bench. Hachanami for Tanya. I had the Gersa is Yoshav, he sat, but the Gersa many people have is Yoshan, sleeps. Yoshan al gabe mita, if he sleeps on a bed, al gabe kisei, on a chair, al gabe udnaya, on the covering of a bar. Lo yotze yedei chavasai. You're not yotze yechiv of kfiyas hamita. So, from Rabbi Yochanan, shlei kayim kfiyas hamita. You weren't mekayim kfiyas hamita. So maybe just like David sitting on the ground was not mekayim kfiyas hamita, so too what? Ripping while standing. So the same thing. It says it doesn't mean he was sitting on the ground. It means he was sitting on the bed. But sitting on the overturned bed is ke'ain. What is ke'ain? Arza, so you don't have anything extra. That is, in other words, that is part of the Avelis, Kfiyas Hamita, and Mamela, ripping my standing is part of the Avelis. So the source for ripping a standing is David HaMelech. The source of ripping my standing is what is David HaMelech.
He also son, a baby, like Sheba, he also sat in the ground.
Okay, they speak about that. They speak about that. Now, Tan Rabbanan, Elu Devarim she'avel asa behem. I think the answer to your question is that was before the kfura. That was before the kfura by the baby. He just heard about the death of the baby, so you can't bring a raya from that. Kriya is done, right? It's done like right. Okay. So now, the elu devarim she'avel asa behen, asa b'malacha. It's asa for the avel to do work, right? We learned this out. We learned this out, guys. Remember we had from Yecheskel, right? Yecheskel. Right, when Hashem told you to lose your life, but so Asa b'malacha, that's Chesed Chadas, uberchitza, but you Yecheskel could wash, ubesicha, ubetash v'shamita, ubenilas hasandal. All of these are Asa for an avel, but Asa likres b'Torah. It's Asa for him to read Torah, uneviim, uksuvim. It's Asa in the Torah proper, neviim, uksuvim, ulishanis b'mishnah, b'medrash, ubehalachos, ubehashas, ubeagodos. And all these things he's not permitted to go ahead with. To learn. There's a very interesting. Let's finish up and if the rabbim need him, you don't hold back, and he can go ahead and teach Torah. Despite the fact that he lost his son. Okay, now what can an Oval learn? That an Oval, we know that on Tisha B'Av we're Avelim. On Tisha B'Av we're Avelim, right? Now, we know in Hilchas Tisha B'Av there are certain things we could learn. There's certain things we could learn that it doesn't mention about Avelim. Here, all it says is also learn, and it says everything. It's mashma everything. But we know we can learn Eicha. We know we can learn certain Prakim and Chelek. We know in Yirmiyahu you can learn to say this. We learn you can learn Elam Galchin. You can learn this parak, right? You can learn this parak, and we know Kamsa by Kamsa. There are things that we can learn. Question: can an Ava learn those things? Can an Ava learn those things? Because again, based upon the Gemara, what does the Gemara say? You can't. So let's see Taisvis. Let's see the Taisvis. The Vasilikus B'Torah, the third Taisvis in the bottom. B'tshuvas Rabbeinu Yitzchak Zikni Kosav Ki Rabbeinu Yaakov Ken say Rabbeinu Yaakov is Rabbeinu Tam. You know, guys. You know Rabbeinu Tam. His name was Yaakov. Yaakov was Ish Tam Yoshev Holam. That's what it's called. You ever know why it's called Rabbeinu Tam? You thought his name was Tam, right? No. Right? His first name was Rabbeinu. No, his name Rabbeinu Tam. This is Ish Tam Yoshev Holam. So my Chavit Toiv Al Shalom is at South Matis Bloom. He wrote the thing Torah Ladas. So he used to get a letter to the editor. Dear Mr. Ladas. Dear Mr. Ladas. Okay. Anyway, so anyway, B'tshuvas Rabbeinu Yitzchak Zikni Kosav Ki Rabbeinu Yaakov Haya Oyser B'mei Aveloi B'Iyov. In other words, you can't even use Iyov, which you could learn in Tisha B'Av. U'B'Kinis U'B'Devarim Haroyim Shebeyemya. So in other words, since the Gemara here, and we did the Gemara in Tainus, and the Gemara in Tainus mentions what you could learn, and here it doesn't mention it. So Rabbi Yitzchak thought initially, as Rabbi Yaakov was reporting that you could learn nothing. However, in the days of his old age, he went back of the hitter and he matted it. He matted in his old age. He permitted to go ahead and learn these things. Right. Okay, so therefore you were able to learn these things on Tisha B'Av. Okay, but that's based upon places. Okay, now what about Kfiyas Hamita, guys? We don't do anything with Kfiyas Hamita, right? Kfiyas Hamita, Atifas Aroish, these things we don't do, but these are brought down Allah. Mechaba brings them down. So look at Tosfos, the Tosfos before the Elu Dvarim She'aval Asa Behen, right? Obviously, you see that I wasn't working today, right? So, usually, the amount of Tosfos we do correlates very much to how much I work, right? It's like, okay, anyway, if you look at Tosfos, in the middle of Tosfos, it says, it's if you count up from the lines of the Gemara, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines up, 11 lines up from the Gemara, parallel that to Tosfos, guys, okay? You got it? They would go ahead and do. They would. The oval would be to put a turban on. Ukafiyas hamita, or turning over the bed. Samkina nahadamina b'yushalmi. Achsanoi, a guest ein chayiv b'kfiyas hamita. Limrun chereshu. They shouldn't say he's a cheresh perish mechashev. Seems to be that they would think he's putting a spell. So they didn't do it. Very fascinating. Yerushalmi says that. We live among the Goyim, and who knows what they're going to go ahead and think? They're very superstitious. So now, guys, if you have a bed, 4-posted bed, right? Think about it. You turn it over. It's like a 4-posted bed, right? So in other words, we don't do it because it's not recognizable that you're mourning. What does it look like? Come on, dargish ain't circle. If it's a dargish, come to a stretcher, you don't have to go ahead and overturn. What about tifas aroish? It would bring you to a joke. You could go ahead like the Arabs. Okay. Anyway, so that's we don't do this. We don't do these things.
There's so many things we do that they see. We do.
Those are usually mitzvahs, right? Usually the things mitzvahs we do, right? Over here, this is all. Oh, you have to give me an example.
Like this one,
what? We're shlogging kapar. What? It's outside. I mean, not everyone. What?
Peter's busy with it.
Okay, so Peter's busy with it. Okay, good. Okay, so they don't think it's kishuf. They think it's what? They think it's abusing animals. Okay. Again, this is what the superstition about cheresh is one thing. I don't know about again. I don't know. Okay, this is again. Just give me the sources of the things you think. You learn Gemara. Kfiyas Hamita. This is dinner Kfiyas Hamita. We don't do it. Atifas Aroish. We don't do it. And this is the source. And the learning. Okay, here's a source over here. If you're Tzarech Rabbim, you're able to. So Amalei Rav Chanina, Imhoyu Rav Tzrichel Meinu Nimnas Sava Lukmi Line Bob. Rabbi Rav Chana is Rabbi Mills. Rabbi Rav Chana Yisrael Milsi was an novel. Sabad loy mefik lepirka. He thought not to go ahead and darshan because again he was an novel. So Amalei Rab Chanina im hoyer Rabbim tzrichim loy. If the Rabbim need him, ain't a nimna. Then he can't mind. He can't hold back. If the Rabbim need him, he can't hold back. Right? Sabal ukmi amoira leha. So what in the time they used to have, you'd whisper to the Meturgimin, and the Meturgimin would go ahead and announce it. Amalei Rav Tanya ubel vachla yam Meturgimin. To go ahead and not have a Meturgimin. In other words, we want to show a shinoi that he's being misabel. The guy's a novel. He's not really supposed to, but if the Rabbim need him, then what? Then he could. However, to go ahead and do it outright in the normal way, that would not be. So go ahead. Rav said, you know what? You could teach Barabim, but you can't have a Meturgimin. What should you do? What should you do? Yehuda bar Eloi, v'nichlas beis hamedrash, v'nichlas Reb Chananya ben Akavya, v'yoshev b'tzida. He stood on the side. V'lochash hu Reb Chananya ben Akavya. Reb Yehuda bar Eloi whispered his Torah to Reb Chananya. Reb Chananya ben Akavya v'turgimin shmiel Rabbi. So in other words, it was a double. It was a double. By going in two, that was enough lot of a shinoi to go ahead and show the difference. Tanabanan. Avol gimel yom rishonim aslo nech tefillin. An avol the first 3 days is also to go ahead and put on tefillin. Right. And now remember, they used to wear tefillin the whole day. So therefore, they would noyig. So it's a big thing for 3 days not to wear tefillin. We don't wear it, right? We usually the day of the burial, the day of the Yom Kippur, what?
So these 3 they didn't put on.
They don't. They put on it all. There's asal aniach. But we, of course, on the day of the Kfur and the burial, you don't. But afterwards, we do. Mishlishi ve'elech, from the 3rd day and onward. V'shlishi b'chal, and the 3rd day is included. Mutal aniach tefillin. You're able to put on tefillin. V'mboyu panu chadashos, who thinks, guys, in a chaylitz. In other words, let's say people in misabel, people are going ahead and they're coming to you, yeah. So they don't know that you're in the 3rd day. They could say, look, you're wearing tefillin in the 2nd day, the 1st day. Nonetheless, Rabbi Eliezer says, in the chaylitz, you don't have to take off your tefillin. Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua is of the opinion, Avel Beis Yomar Rishonim Asal Nech Tefillin. The first 2 days it's Asa. Umisheni b'shnei b'chlal. The second one is b'chlal. Mutal Nech Tefillin. You're able to put on tefillin after the 1st day. In other words, according to Rabbi Eliezer, you can put it on the 2nd day. According to Rabbi Yeshua, you can put it on after the 1st day. Then boy Panu Chadashas. However, Rabbi Yeshua disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer, and he says if someone comes in Menachem, then you'd have to take it off. And the first day. Again, okay, now whether it was the first, now let's see. What does it mean? Amar Rav Masna, my time with Rabbi Eliezer, that 2 days and the 3rd day. It says Vayitamu Yemei B'chi Evel Moshe, and they finish. Yemei is mashma. How many days, guys? Yemei is 2, right? Vayitamu Yemei days B'chi of crying Evel Moshe. So those are 2 days, and after 2 days, Amar Rav, my time with Rabbi Yeshua, that's 1 day. Dichsiv V'acharisa Kiyom Mar. And afterwards, what? It's like a bitter day. Yeah, at least at the end, this is the pasuk in Amos. We said, we said yesterday, how do you know Shiva? We're going to turn your chagim into Evel. Stam chag, what is 7 days? And the end of the pasuk says, and the 1 day after, first day, it's very bitter. What does he do? Rabbi Elazar's pasuk. Amalach shiny Moshe to talk about Avra. Moshe is different. Moshe. Guys, I don't want you walking through it, okay? I don't want you walking through it. Okay? I don't mind. Go upstairs, but you're not walking through it. So, shiny Moshe, the Takiv Avle. Moshe is very strong. The Avelis is strong, and therefore we kept 2 days instead of 1. What does he do with Rabbi Yeshua's 1 day? That even though he holds that 2 days, the first day is the most bitter. Okay. Amma Ula says Ula halacha Rabbi Eliezer. The halacha is like b'chalitza, meaning you don't have to take off your tefillin for Panav Chadashas comes. But halacha Rabbi Yeshua, that 1 day and only 1 day and not 2 days. Ba'anacha. Now you boy lahu b'sheni leula on the 2nd day of Kontul. Now you just told me the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer, and the halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua. Yeshua gives you 1 day. Rabbi Eliezer gives you 2 days. What? Then you told me the halacha is like what, that you can leave it on. What about? But the halacha is iboilu b'sheni leula. Chaylitz ain't a chaylitz. On the 2nd day, according to Ula, do you take it off or not? In other words, you told me like Eliezer, you don't take it off. But that's it. That's the 3rd day. He has the 2nd day, right? Tashma Ama Ula chaylitz umeniach afilu meyapam. You go ahead, you take it off and put it on even 100 times. Tanya namihachi Yehuda ben Tema Omer chaylitz umeniach afilu meyapam. Okay, Rav Amano. Kibun sheniach shuvein achaylus. Once you put it on, what you don't take it off. Guys, our Mishnah said that 3 days in order to be mafsik, for the regular to be mafsik, you have to have 3 days of avelis. We said afilu yanechad afilu sha'achas. That's what we said. But Rav said 3. So now Rav is saying that what? That no, you can keep it on. So what's he putting on tefillin for? It says the Gemara, mitzvah shiny. It's different. The mitzvah is different. Go ahead. A mitzvah l'gufay is different. Rashi says, "Klaima hoyle mitzvah l'niach tefillin matzah l'niach la'alta b'sheni." You can do it on the second day, despite the fact that that avelis is 3 days according to Rava. Okay, so now the din of avelis is very, very interesting. I sent it out on the phone. I'll post it over here. The din of avelis is whether what's the raisa, what's not the raisa. So let's look at the Shulchan Aruch. And we'll see what the halach is. Huh? Okay. Avelis, this is Shin Sadiches. This is in Yorideya. In Yorideya, Shin Sadiches. It's one sif. That's it. Avelis Yom Mishain Imhu Yom Misa Ukfura Havi Daraisa. Avelis in the first day, if it's the day of the death and the Kfura, then it's the Raisa. V'shara Yomim Midrabanan. And all the other 6 days would be the Rabbanan. B'medar Marmurim, B'shiva Mesim Hamafurish B'Toira. Shekoyim Etamalehem. Yesterday's share, we said the Avelis is 7. Vaisifu, they added on Avelis, but the Indian Tuma, we have the 7, right? The mother, the father, the brother, sister, paternal, maternal, not maternal, paternal, only not married, son, daughter. Okay. Aval oisam sheisifu alehem, the ones that Chachamim added on Linya Avelis, K'di'isa b'simin Shinai and Dalid, afilu b'yam rishon hemid rabbanon. But the ones that they added on, a maternal sister, a paternal sister that's married, paternal married, those we added on, those will only be the rabbanon. V'yesh oimrim she'af avelis yom harishon demisa t'kvura havi the rabbanon b'chol hamesim. And right, those say that this is also the rabbanon. Look at the shach on the side, the base on the side. That's the Sifsei Kayim. V'yesh oimrim v'hachi kaimulon kidel kamon, that it's only the rabbanon bisman hazeh, and Simon Shin Sadik Sif. Okay, Sim Yud Gimel. Now that's the second one. You have it there. Here it is. This is Yud Gimel. B'makomom she'asu shnei yom tovim. In the days, the places we made 2 yom tovim. Misha meslei meis b'yontav sheni. Someone who has one who dies in yontav sheni. Shu yontav akron shel Pesach or shel Chagi, the last day of Pesach or the last day of Sukkot. Or b'yontav sheni shel Atzeres, or the second day of Shavuos. The kavru boy bayayim, and the kfura took place. And again, they would bury on the second day of Yontif. Noig ba'avelis, you'd be noig avelis. Why? Hayel v'yontav sheni midivreihem. V'avelis yom rishon shehu yoim amisa kfura shel Torah yitchaseh shel divreihem ve'aseh shel Torah. So in other words, so right. If it's the Araisa, Yor is the Araisa. We know the second day of Yontif is the Rabbanon. The Aseh the Araisa of what? Of Avelis will override what? The din of the second day of Yontif. Aval Meis be Yontif Sheni Shal Rosh Hashanah the Kivrei by Bayoim Ein Noi by Avelis. Why? Shebeis Hayomim Kiyom Aruchim. This Beis Yomim are like a long day. They're one long day, and therefore there's no difference between day 1 and day 2. The Medom Mamurim b'Shivas Meisim Amafurashim b'Torah Shekayim Etam Lehem. Aval oisam shasifu aleim, the ones that we went ahead and added on, right? The paternal married, kedisa b'simin shinai and dalid. Ein avilusam el drabanon lefikach ein noig aleim avelis b'shem yontif. You're not going to be noig avelis at all. V'afilu ba'isa shamarnu, and even the ones that we said shenoig avelis b'yontif sheni eina kaireya, you're not going to rip. V'oilam noigin shleilis abel b'yontif sheni shel golius al shumes afilu hu yom misu kfura. The oilam is not misabel on the second day of Yontif at all. Says the Ramah, Hine, the Soivim Kedas Amurim, they hold like the ones who hold She'ein Shum Avelis Deraisa. This is what the Shach was referring to. There's no Avelis Deraisa. V'chein Aminig HaPoshit V'ein L'Shanos. Don't change the minig. You want to be machmer on yourself, you can't. Afilu, it's the day of the Kfura, the Misa, and the second day of Yontif, where you would bury on the second day Yontif. It's not. It's only the Rabbanon, and this is the Psak. That it's only the Rabbanon.
That's why. She can't be.
It's not their rice. It's second day Yontif. It's the second day Yontif. Second day. We're not talking about Rosh Hashanah. We're talking about regular. We're talking about the second day. Second day regular is the Rabbanon. Nonetheless, even all available is the Rabbanon. We don't pass on like the Shitas Arif and the Rambam that hold that the first day the Yom HaMisa is the Raisa. Again, this is the sugya. This is the sugya that, and this is the shach, and this is the shin. That's in shin sadik test. Sifyu Gimel. Yeah.
The second day is the Rabbanon, and Avelis is the Rabbanon. So why can't it be Avelis? If the second day Yontif is the Raisa, I understand that. That makes sense.
So why should one the Rabbanon push off the simcha? Yeah. Why should it? It is a simcha. I mean, it's Yontif the Rabbanon, and you're keeping a simcha. Why? But why? What's again? Avelis the Rabbanon. What's pushing you? In other words, if it's the Raisa, so I have the Avelis pushing. But it's the Rabbanon. It's an equal. I have simchas Yontif. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, Tan Rabbanon. I think it's a wichtige thing to know. Again, the sheet is a sheet that it's the Raisa, but again, it's only the first day of the Kfur the Mesa, and that's the base upon the pasuk. Acharisa kiyomar. That's that pasuk. The first day is different. There's different days. You see, this is in 1, this is in 3, this is in 7, this is in 30. There's like it descends in order of numbers, but it descends in order of Avelis, right? Of Avelis strength. Tan Rabbanan. Avol Gimel Yom Rishonim. Again, here's the first 3 days. The first 3 days are Rishonim. Asr b'malacha. Again, Hesach Hadas. You want to focus on the Avelis, so therefore it's Asr b'malacha. Vafilu oni hamisparnis min tzedakah. Even an oni who depends upon tzedakah, mikan ve'elech oiseh b'tzina. After should not work the first 3 days. Mikan ve'elech from 3 and on oiseh b'tzina b'tach beisai. Va'isha tavoy b'pelach b'tach beisai. A woman who can't do her normal job. She has to even tavel with pelach. In other words, this is a woman who has other businesses and could make do something on the side. She does something that a woman can do to make some money. And that's the chiddush of Isha tavel pelach b'sek pesa. Tarabanan, another brisa concerning the first 3 days. So the first 3 days, this teaches us malacha. Avol gimel yom rishonim eino haylach lebeisa avol. Now the first 3 days, he can go be misabel somebody else. Gemilas Chesed is a mitzvah. The first 3 days, he can't go ahead and be menachem somebody else. Mikan ve'elech, after day 3 and onwards, hoylech, he could go to be misabel, misnachem. Ve'enu yoshev b'makam menachem. He doesn't go ahead and sit with the ones who are comforting. El b'makam misnachem. He sits with the ones who are being comforted. He sits with other avelim. So by sitting with other avelim, he's showing that he's menachem them, but he's not doing the mitzvah with the other menachemim. Okay, a third brisa. So first brisa asim malacha. Second one the isra of what of three within 3 days. Parabanan avol gimel yomer rishayim asa b'sheila shalom. This is what the rest of the Gemara is going to discuss, guys. Let's get this straight. Parabanan avol gimel yomer rishayim. The first 3 days asa b'sheila shalom. He can't greet somebody. Mishleisha va'ad shiva, from 3 to 7. Meishiv, he can answer. The Ein Shoyel, he can't greet. So the first 3 days he can't even answer. He can't ask and he can't answer. From 3 to 7 he can answer if somebody greets him, but he can't go ahead and greet. Mikan ve'elach, from 7 and onwards, right? From 7 and onwards. From 7 and onwards, Shoyel umeshiv kedarkoi. He can go ahead and ask and answer kidarko normally. Now, shloisha yomer rishonim asa b'shelashon. Now, going back over this price. Okay, so we have 3 brises, guys. The first one is samalacha. The second one can't go to misabel. The third one we have 3 madregas. From day 0 to day 1 to day 3, nothing. Day 3 to 7, he could answer but not ask. And from day 7 and onwards in shloishim, he can ask. That's what's mashma. It says shloisha yomer rishonim asa b'shelashon. Right. Iva Tanya, Maisa Umesa Banam Shel Rabbi Akiva, Umaisa, and the sons of Rabbi Akiva died. It's Masha from Rashi, he only lost 1 son. Nichnasu, according to Rashi Amiti, Nichnasu Kol Yisrael, Vespidum Hespid Gadol. And all the Klal Yisrael came and they made this tremendous hesped. B'shas b'tirasan, as they were leaving, Omar Rabbi Akiva al Safsel Gadol. Rabbi Akiva stood up on a big bench. For Omar, Achenu Beis Yisrael, Shimu, Herzachzu. Listen up. Afilu shnei bonim chasonim munachim hu b'shvil kavod shasisem. Even if I lost two sons who were married, who were chasanim, who were son-in-laws, you were menachim me with this covet that you did. Then b'shvil Akiva bosem. If you came from my covet, harikam Akiva b'shok. You're not coming from me. I'm a regular Joe, Rabbi Akiva. I'm a regular Joe. The Gemara in Menachos says when Moshe Rabbeinu went up the Maraim, he said, "Yesh ish kezev Yisrael v'atah nice and tar b'yadi." Rabbi Akiva says, well, they're not coming from me. V'im b'shvil elakacha martem toiras elakav b'liboy. So you're coming for the Torah of what? Of my either my son according to Rashi or my sons. The kol shekain says chartim kafel. Now you got double. Why? Because you got not only nichem avelim but covenant Torah. L'chu levatechem l'shalom. All go home in peace. So what do you see? Within the 7, you could go ahead and greet. And so after the Gemara, covered Rabbim shiny. You got a Rabbim. Everyone came. Klal Yisrael came. That's different. You got all the Rabbim. That's different. Okay. So 0 to 7. You have a nice question. Covered Rabbim. It's different. Now. Gimel at Zion from 3 to 7. What do we say? You can answer, but you can't go ahead and be proactive and ask. Right? You can answer, but you can't be proactive and ask. And we're going to ask on that now. Migimel vad Zion, Meishiv, you can answer if someone addresses you. Ve'ena shoyel. Mikan ve'elech. From what? From 7 and onwards. Shoyel u'meishiv kidarkoi. So now, uriminu, we're going to ask a steer on that last thing. That day 30, if the 7 days, you can go ahead and Meshiv and Shalom Gedarka. Uriminu. Hamaitzi es chaveroi, avol b'tech lamid yoim. If you find your friend who's an avol within 30 days, midaber imay tanchumim, you can go ahead and speak direct tanchumim to him. Ve'ena shoyel b'shloimai, but you can't ask him how he's doing. La'achal lamid yoim, after 30 days, shoyel b'shloimai, then what? You can ask him how he's doing. And after 30 days, you can't speak Tanchumim. If his wife died and he married another woman, sometimes that's a quick shidduch because a person who wasn't Mekayim Pir V'Rivya, he wasn't Mekayim Pir V'Rivya within 30 days. Because why? Because his new wife doesn't want to hear this. Matzah b'shuk, amaloi b'safa raf in a quiet voice will covered roish. So what do you see? Let's see Rashi. Lenachamai mishum chalishas das isha achrayna ketani mia says Rashi b'toich lamed yoim ein a shoyel b'shleimai. You can't ask him. Kol shekain shel avol atzmai ein a shoyel. In other words, if you can't ask him, then certainly he can't ask you. But the Brisa before said after 7 days he could be shoyel kedarka. One more time, you guys are inferring the question. We were speaking about the avol being proactive. We said after day number 7 he can greet. We just put a brisa. You can't greet him after 7 days. If you can't go ahead and greet him, certainly he can't greet you. That's the kasha. That's the kasha. So, and for the Gemara, back in the Gemara, Amarav Idi Bar Avin, who shoyel b'sholem acherim. You know what? He's able to ask the shalom of others. Shachem shuim b'sholem, right? Because there, you know what? You're right. You're right. He could greet others. But others can't greet him. Why? Because other people are sorry they're in a state of shalom. So he can ask them, how are you? They can't ask him how he's doing. Because he's not. He's not. So it's mashma that what? That they can't ask him. Frag the Gemara from Midiktani. What does the Brisa say, guys? It says Meshiv. Midiktani Meshiv. Now, if it says he can answer, Michlal de Shalinan lei. It must be that after 7 days, within 30 days, after 7, you did ask him. It says, in other words, they didn't know. No, they didn't know that he was mitaych shloishim, and therefore they hachi hasam nami. So if they didn't know mitaych shiva also, right? They didn't know. So why would they 7 can't you? No, you're telling after 30 that you can ask if you don't know. So why? What's the difference between mitaych shiva? Says within 7 you inform them. Over there, within 7, you have to go ahead and say, if the guy asks you, you have to say I'm an aval. Within 30, after 7 days, if they agree, you don't have to tell them anything. Okay. Or minu, I'll ask you another stira. If a person finds his friend, an aval, within 12 months, he can go ahead and be menachem. But you can't go ahead, Rod, and ask b'shloimai. So what do you see? Before it said after 30 days, you could. Here it's saying what? You can't. Guys, it says over here, but you told me after 30 days you could. Here it's speaking within 12 months, and it says you can't. After 12 months you could, and therefore you can't go ahead and speak tanchumim after 12 months. Already it's over. If what you can go ahead, words you can give him words from the tzad. No, that means you can't. You don't mention his name. You Rames, but you don't say it that way. Huh? No. How you doing? Shalom aleichem. Amrav Meya hamaitzias chaveroi. Okay, we'll get the kasha. I showed you the kasha already, guys. I just now. Amrav Meya hamaitzias chaveroi aval achi beis chodesh medabri imay tanchumim after 12 months, and you're speaking the tanchumim. Lamahad mahu doime la'odam shenishbra raglo. A person who broke his leg. And it got better. Matzah Raifa, a Raifa we meet Simba Amaloi, Klach Etzli, when you come to me, Shani Shavra, I'll break your leg again, Rapena, and I'll make it better. Kadesh Shetedish Samanim Shali Yafin. So L'chaira, in other words, the same thing over here. After the Avelis is over, after it's cured, so like bottom line is you see what with the after 12, you're not supposed to. You said after 30 you could. So Lakasha, Haba of the Imai until after 12. But b'shak kroivim, that's within 30 days you could ask, but the other 5. But avimay until what? 12 months. Hasanami yidabim tachumim and atzad. For the Gemara, why don't you go ahead and also Hasanami, the 30 days that you said b'shak kroivim, why don't you say that what you within 30 days you shouldn't ask? Why don't you say you can ask from the side? Says the Gemara, einachanami, you could ask from the side. So what does it mean you can't speak to him divrei tanchumim? You can't speak in a normal way, but you could go ahead and speak word from the tzad. Okay. Shkayach everyone for listening.